That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
If I thought I could help you, Dumbledore said gently, by putting you into an enchanted sleep and allowing you to postpone the moment when you would have to think about what has happened tonight, I would do it. But I know better. Numbing the pain for a while will make it worse when you finally feel it. You have shown bravery beyond anything I could have expected of you. I ask you to demonstrate your courage one more time. I ask you to tell us what happened. What's up, potheads? Welcome to the Restricted Section, a show in which a bunch of nerds with potty mouths reread the Harry Potter series for the umpteenth time and discuss the way the story and its themes have stayed with a generation into adulthood. Thank you for listening. If you haven't done the reading, don't worry, we've done it for you. Here's what we're talking about this week. Chapter 36, The Parting of the Ways. I'll be honest, this chapter was extremely hard to read. So after Harry repeats his story to Sirius, he gets to pass out in the hospital wing. But he is soon awoken by a loud shouting match. McGonagall is absolutely livid because Cornelius Fudge has accidentally let a Dementor perform the Dementor's kiss on Barty Crouch Jr., so he's just like a zombie now. So he can no longer testify to any of what he said, and Fudge did not get to hear his confession. So Fudge flat out refuses to see how the points of this story all connect. He completely turns a deaf ear to reason. And Dumbledore lays out a harm reduction plan for him. He just lays it out right before him, but Fudge turns his nose up at it. He really thinks they're all mad. He thinks this is political, and he's too self-obsessed to see. He simply cannot see reason. So Dumbledore sets everyone else up for action. He sends Bill to get Arthur and see who they can speak to at the Ministry. He makes Sirius and Snape bury the hatchet. He sends Sirius to gather up the old Order of the Phoenix. He sends Snape, I think, to Voldemort's side, a spy again. And the good guys are split up now. And I just can't stop thinking about how the next 3 books might have been different if Fudge had just had some sense, if he'd had some compassion, if he'd given the benefit of the doubt, if he'd taken any action, and, just how could our future be changed if all of the old white men in charge were willing to put themselves out there to protect our world and our people. Welcome to the Restricted Section. Oh, Fudge, I forgot to write an intro. Oh, well.
I wish you could hear eye rolls.
I'm very satisfied with that one. I'm your host, Christina. I wrote that into my script because I realized just a couple episodes ago that I have not been introducing myself or saying my own name in pretty much any episode this whole season. So I write it in my scripts now. I'm your host, Christina. I am feeling pretty combative today, and here to help me say fuck the Minister of Magic is none other than the beautiful Brooke. Please say hello to the listeners, Brooke.
Hello. Fuck you to the Minister of Magic.
Yeah. Yeah, down with the man.
But like in a formal way. Like Christina came through with the hippie fuck you power. I'm coming through with the respectfully at the end of the email fuck you power.
I love that energy. I am super excited because today we have some brand new special guests, Sam and Emily from Harry Potter and the HalfDrunk Podcast. Ow, 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 ow.
Hi. Hey.
Say hello to the listeners, Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Nice. It's good to do that little so now the listeners know which is which, So that's Sam. And Sam, what are your pronouns, please?
She, her.
Say hello to the listeners, Emily.
Hello, listeners.
And what are your pronouns?
She, her.
thanks so much for being on the show. It's great to have you. When I saw the title Harry Potter and the HalfDrunk Podcast, I just had to click on it because
Christina's
that's a vibe.
On brand currently and already half drunk as a welcoming gesture. She's been aggressively waving a beer bottle at the screen.
So here's what happens is I cover my screen with my notes because otherwise I stare at my face like Narcissus until I drown. So I didn't know really that I was waving that around in like camera sight. I'm gesturing, and suffice it to say that half Corona does not equal half drunk. Thank you so much.
You're gesturing with that bottle in such a way that I'm half expecting you to just break it on your desk.
I would not be surprised. I'll be sure not to edit that soundbite out if that happens. That's for the listeners.
We just add it in later at the end, just like a bottle breaking.
So Sam and or Emily, and the reason I'm saying your names in this order is because that's how you appear on my Zoom screen. Can one or both of you tell us a little bit about your podcast?
Yeah, so our podcast started almost 4 years ago, which is insane.
Yeah, I'm looking old.
We're feeling it.
When you say 4 years ago was
as a way for us to kind of continue talking about Harry Potter together, since we are in a long-distance friendship, and also drink together since we were of age. So we started it just really as that, and it has just kind of developed over the years. We just talk about random Harry Potter isms, random topics. Right now we're kind of in the depths of a fan fiction, All the Young Dudes. We did
hell yeah.
Some series recap where we did a deep dive into the series and films.
But we also wanted to be able to differentiate ourselves because there are like so many Harry Potter podcasts. Truly. And that's great. We love all the content. But we didn't want to just like go through chapter by chapter. And I hadn't really seen any other podcasts that weren't doing that. So we were like, would there be enough conversation to be had not doing that? And I'm like, well, it's a huge, wide wizarding world. Totally. So
there's a lot to explore.
And here we are.
Yeah, I love that, when I was catching up on y'all's podcast a little bit, it's really cool to just be able to like scroll it. Like you don't have to go in any order. Like you just scroll through the feed until you find a subject that you're like, oh, I want to talk about this today.
Yeah.
So love it.
Yeah. I think, neither one of us knew how long it would last. It was just kind of like a fun thing for us to do together. And
that's the other difference to a book club podcast is that we're shackled to this timeline.
Yeah.
There's no escaping.
Christina reminds us of that.
Like 4 years later, we still have shit to talk about. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And we still have people who are just finding our podcast and are like, oh, I've got to catch up, but then I can't wait to keep listening. And we're like, well, yep, we're just going to have to figure out how to keep talking about it. So
always more content.
Yeah.
You got it. Luckily, this is such a vast world. So do y'all have like a shared or a separate or a eventually intertwining Harry Potter histories? Like how long have y'all been friends as long as you've been fans or which
fans first? Friends second. So
Sam, why don't you tell me about your Harry Potter history?
Yeah, I started reading the books. I think I was in like 3rd grade or so. And honestly, I was not a big reader before then. My mom was a teacher and she had me taking like the remedial reading classes when everyone else was at recess. I was like working with Mrs. Pageant reading, like Sam sat on the mat and hating.
Did you not get to go to recess?
Like 2 times a week I had to read instead of go to recess.
That's mean.
Yeah, well.
You earned that break time.
So and it's not that I couldn't, I just hated it. And I would have rather been running around on the playground chasing people or getting chased. But then I started reading Harry Potter and it just kind of sparked my love of reading, and obviously I still love Harry Potter to this day. It's very near and dear to me, and read the books countless times, went and saw the movies when they all came out, and I think I had seen the first 2 films before I had read the first book. And then Emily and I met our freshman year of high school, and we realized pretty quickly that we both were equal to each other in love of Harry Potter, and that just kind of solidified our relationship.
Yeah.
Nice. I love that. So, Emily, did you have a similar backstory of getting into the books as a kid? Or?
Well, my dad is a big old nerd, so,
Nice.
And we used to read together every night. So we got to the Harry Potter series, and at first I did not want to read it. I don't know why. I think because my brother was into it at the time or something. And then we finally read it together, and it was just something like we really connected on. And then I dealt with a lot of things like as an adolescent and just always would return to those books. It's kind of just an outlet and a safe home, if you will. So yeah, these books are like really near and dear to me. I can remember like going to the theater with my grandmother to see the first Harry Potter film, and like that was a huge deal because she never really took us to the movies, but
cute.
She heard we had to see this one. So yeah, I mean, Harry Potter was just always around when I was growing up because my dad loved the books. And then I met Sam, and yeah, we hit it off. And then actually, like, the Wizarding World in Orlando opened our freshman year, like the end of it. So we'd only been friends for like
the summer
not even a year, and we went on a vacation together for opening week. So
I love that energy. That's so cool. Man, I'm just thinking about how my grandma, because you said your grandma took you to see Sorcerer's Stone. My grandma, like, has never been able to hear accents. She's just such an old Southern lady that she's like, what are they saying? If, like, it's Johnny Depp. Like, it's not that even that good of an accent. She can't watch Pirates of the Caribbean. And she can't watch Harry Potter. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
what are they
I don't even know if she, like, remembers that, to be honest. But to me, it was just so cool because we never really went to the movies with her. And she was like, I just heard from all the girls at the office. I had to take you guys to see this movie. So...
Oh,
yeah.
That's precious.
She's
That
the
is
best.
really precious. So, Emily, what Hogwarts house are you?
I'm a Ravenclaw.
Okay, cool. Any, like, particular reason or just, like, books and learning and stuff?
Books and learning and the creativity side, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm an interior designer.
Ooh.
So, yeah. And for their wit, I like how different they kind of are.
Sam, what about you? What Hogwarts house are you?
I am a Hufflepuff.
Nice.
I fought against it for a long time, fought against my identity. I'm also a type 4 on the Enneagram, so I don't know if you guys know what that is, but 4s are constantly trying to figure out who the fuck they are. So I feel like I could fit into any 4 of the houses.
That's why you're in the miscellaneous house.
Yeah, my boyfriend thinks that I should be in Gryffindor because I am very strong-willed, but... yeah, I think I have strong Gryffindor undertones to my Hufflepuffness, but I think I'm in Hufflepuff mainly because I just want everyone to get along and love each other. I'm a hard worker, believe in fairness above, like, almost anything, so...
Well, cool. Okay, so we have 2 Ravenclaws and 2 Hufflepuffs on this call. That's a balanced match right there. Like, we got this. This is going to be a great episode. Let's get into the chapter. Oh, I have 2 notes for myself here. Just I'm trying to get better about this kind of stuff. Happy freaking Mother's Day to Molly Weasley and all the other moms out there.
Yeah, and rip to Cedric's mom.
Oh my god. That's bad timing.
As a terrible development in my life and emotional capacity, I've started crying at Mother's Day commercials. For context, I am 20 weeks pregnant.
Beautiful.
No context. No
Well,
context.
I am 32 weeks pregnant, so
Congratulations.
congrats to you.
We're a balanced match. The Ravenclaws are pregnant. Happy Mother's Day. Brooke, try not to cry at me.
Like, I almost cried reading about a potion that lets you have immediate dreamless sleep. You have no idea how fucking good that sounds at this point.
Oh my god.
Or just immediate sleep. Just immediate sleep. Just full through the night sleep would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Also, happy Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I remembered something eventually. Watch me try my best to remember Pride next month. So let's get into it. Today we're here to cover Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Chapter 36, The Parting of the Ways. And I would like to start by saying that I find this to truly be the scariest chapter in the entire series. Because it's about the government failing like honest, intelligent people who are trying to make good stuff happen.
Yeah, this is this chapter is honestly one of my favorites of the entire series just because of the dialogue between Dumbledore and Fudge. and you just see how far off base Fudge actually is. And to your point, that is terrifying because I feel like it's also like a political commentary on the priorities of a lot of leaders in the world. They're more interested in saving face and preserving peace than they are of doing what's right and not easy.
I think also one reason I really like this chapter is we see a lot of the development between Dumbledore and Harry and how Dumbledore's kind of like starting to use Harry and read his mind and use him as a pawn a bit more. At least when I reread it, that's what stands out to me the most, just knowing it eventually how the story ends up.
Yeah.
Just the fact that he just makes him talk through everything immediately and he's just like listening there. And he's like, no, he's fine.
Yeah.
But Harry's also realizing how fucking powerful Dumbledore is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
In the chapter before and in this chapter, he's like, Dumbledore exudes straight power.
I think it's because, like, even in moments of, like, turmoil or whatever, like, so far, Harry hasn't seen Dumbledore get mad. And, like, he's fucking mad, dude. Like, he did not see any of this coming. He didn't figure out how to prevent it in time. And, like, he's mad that people did this to his people and, him and, like, the school he's trying to run here.
Right. He's, like, mad, and he's also just... I think he's so mad at himself that he didn't figure it out fast enough, because he was just, like... It was brilliant. It was, like, simple brilliance, this plan that Barty Crouch Jr. put together. And it was under my crooked nose this entire fucking time, and I did not see it. I could not figure it out fast enough. I knew as soon as he took you out of my sight, but damn it, I should have acted faster.
Yeah.
So I feel like he is placing a lot of, like, blame and guilt on himself as well. But mainly, I think his anger in this chapter specifically, it's obviously directed at Fudge, and should be.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like they were, like, pretty much friends, and he's, like, learning something deal-breaking about a friend right now. It's like learning that your friend, I don't know, man, I don't even want to say, like, something terrible that your friend's a pedophile, or, like, something that's just, like, you are ruined to me,
It's literally finding out your friend is a Nazi online without telling you.
Yeah, like that. It's like, whoa, this changes the context of everything, and you acted like you were cool to me.
I feel like they may not have even been friends, but just, like, had a mutual respect, mutual understanding. Maybe, like, a coworker that you're, like, kind of cool with. Yeah. And then they're, like, I don't know, I'm saying, like, hashtag Black Lives Matter, and they're like, well, all lives matter. I'm like, well, that is just not correct, and we're just gonna have to, like, not agree on that. I'm gonna do my thing, and you're gonna do your thing, but I'm gonna do what's best for me. And that's what
enemies.
Dumbledore does. And it's like, well, you can't stop me, bro. So
I think the other really important thing that this chapter as a whole does is that it really sets the fact that the tone is going to be here for the rest of the series.
Ooh, yeah.
In previous books, by the time we make it through the Dumbledore Explains It All chapter and we're in the hospital wing, everything's fine. There's a note of levity introduced. Like, we're back to kind of an equilibrium.
Earwax.
Yeah. We're back to a positive equilibrium. We're back to, like, the kind of, like, whimsical nature that's been pulling the series this far. And
we've, like, reset for the next year's shenanigans.
And instead, this chapter's, like, it's like, hey, buddy, you're safe. But the government thinks you're a secret agent. No one really believes you. And we're going to have to rally the troops, bud, because we're going to have to start fighting people for real. So you get some sleep.
Dude, yeah, honestly, so this is the penultimate chapter of this book. The next chapter, it's the end of the book, so it's boring. It's got a funeral in it, like a boring funeral. And it's so depressing. It's like, well, I guess let's go home and try not to get murdered by Lord Voldemort. And it's the most depressing, boring chapter ever. And so I'm bringing back a fan favorite as a guest for that next. I was like, I can't do this to a new guest. I can't make someone cool do this. It has to be a personal friend to endure this with me. So stay tuned. So we have just finished the Barty Crouch Jr. Veritaserum confession. 2-part confession. So Dumbledore binds up Barty Crouch and asks McGonagall to stand guard. And McGonagall is fierce. She's upset, but when she raises her wand at Barty Crouch, her hand is quite steady.
She's a bad bitch. I love her so much.
Yeah, I really love every moment of her in this chapter. She doesn't really do anything, but
she does it all without doing anything.
I love hearing her scream and in like that sounded like something a serial killer would say. Like, I love that she's yelling later.
Well, it's like Fudge tried to, like, I don't know, throw her under the bus.
Yeah.
And Dumbledore's like, what the fuck? I told you to stand guard. And she's like, well, he fucking brought a Dementor in here. Like,
for sure. So Dumbledore then asks Snape to bring Madame Pomfrey to come help him with the real Mad-Eye Moody, who's, like, been held prisoner at the bottom of that chest.
And he also sends someone to go and retrieve a dog from Hagrid's hut. Who does he send on dog quest?
Okay, so in the last chapter, he sent McGonagall and Snape on errands, and that was when it was like, McGonagall, please, if you would, go down to Hagrid's hut, and you will find a large black dog in the pumpkin patch. Please take him up to my office. Tell him I'll be with him shortly.
It's truly a thing where it's like he does this like general commander in the tent, like giving directions things like 5 times in like 2 chapters.
Yeah, he's the only person in charge of anything. When Cedric and Harry came back on the portkey, all Cornelius Fudge, the president of magic, did was scream about how there was a dead child to a panicking crowd.
I mean, this entire set of chapters is just like, let's drill into trauma response. Like,
yeah, for sure. Evocative. Snape's also supposed to go get Fudge to come hear, like, the confession himself. So then Dumbledore supports Harry up to his office to meet Sirius Black. And, like, what a relief for Harry in this moment to just be, like, alone with 2 of, like, the people he trusts most in the world to, like, protect him. Dumbledore and Sirius.
Yeah, I've always loved that Sirius is here, and I've always loved the aspect that, like, Dumbledore, like, brought him up so they could have this moment together.
Yeah.
Especially while he knows he's going to make Harry tell him everything that happened immediately. Mm-hmm. So he's like, you're going to need some support. He usually would have Ron or Hermione, but they don't need to hear this because, you know, they just don't need to. But Sirius can handle it. And I think it's, like, good for him to also have his, you know, father figure, so to speak, in the room with him while he's divulging this.
At the same time, I wonder if Dumbledore was like, well, I'm for sure going to need Sirius to go do some work after this with the whole Order of the Phoenix thing, so maybe he needs to hear the whole story.
I mean, I'm sure, but I think also he was like, I need Harry to have some kind of comfort because he's about to see me in a different role.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be like the comforting grandfather. I'm going to be like, what the hell happened?
Mm-hmm.
I think also it's potentially a thing where it's like you can't question a minor without their legal guardian present.
Right.
Ooh, good call. Yeah, that's a good call.
Like, I think there's an element of that where it's like, Sirius, we all know you're technically, hypothetically, legally responsible for this kid. So maybe just be here while I'm laying out some stuff. You know what I mean?
But I also feel like Dumbledore is everyone's guardian whenever they're at his school. Like, he's the headmaster, so...
I just wish he guarded them better.
I think he probably questions them whenever he pleases.
Yeah, it's true. Dumbledore shares what Barty Crouch just said with Sirius. And then Dumbledore asks Harry to describe what happened in the graveyard. And Harry is like, I do not know that I have the strength. And then Fox the Phoenix, I say Fox the Phoenix so you don't think I'm saying Fox, sings like one beautiful note that like gives him inspiration to tell his tale. It's bardic inspiration.
The whole concept of Fox is just wild. Like, here's the thing. I get on George R.R. Martin all the time for inventing random characters when he can't remember that there's a character there to do the task. Fox sounds like the opposite situation, where the author's just literally going through being like, oh, I need a phoenix. Oh, I need healing. Oh, I need a phoenix tail feather. So it's just this one phoenix. It's the only
need a sword.
Phoenix. Yeah, it's the only phoenix. It's just like every time the author needs something phoenix adjacent, it's just like, oh yeah, toss Fox back in there.
I love him though. I don't know if Fox is a
I think Fox is a dude.
Yeah, so. I mean, he's just so comforting. The way he just kind of, like, looks at Harry and just kind of quietly cries on him to heal him.
For sure,
like...
he is super cool, and he would be a great relief after a traumatic break like this.
Yeah.
But it is a little too easy. It's like, oh, your broken leg is fixed now, dude. Congrats.
Not like broken.
Yeah.
Spider pincer mangled.
Yeah, there's a
Right.
lot of, like, conflicting language about how injured Harry is. He, like, talks about spraining it, and then at some point he's like, it's for sure broken and he can't put any weight on it, but then it does also get mangled by a spider. So, but then, is him getting picked up by the spider a movie memory, or is that a real memory?
No, that's a real memory. He gets picked
Yeah,
up by the
it actually
spider.
It's in the book.
And it gets
Okay.
mauled a little bit, and then the spider drops him because Cedric attacks it, and he breaks his leg on landing.
Okay, I remember.
And then he gets some, like, cool, like, mom lifting a car off a kid strength in the graveyard where he's like, I've got a task to do, and the adrenaline kind of carries him through.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, the adrenaline's gone, and you're just, like, sitting alone in a room, and you've pissed yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's just fucking beat up.
I think he says every bone in his body aches, and
Yeah.
he's just like,
I really feel like he feels old for the first time ever in this moment. You know, he's like, oh God, 14. I can't believe I made it this far.
Yeah. He's just kind of like mumbling. Like, that's the language that we're hearing. He's like mumbling, like slowly, just like, ugh.
I do like the way that it's written in this moment, because it's like he starts abbreviating word, you know, like you get like low fox instead of
fox.
like
Very
hello,
cute.
you know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
exhaustion is written into it.
Okay, so when Harry gets to the part where their wands docked, him and Voldemort did some wand docking. He is describing what happened with like the bright light and the Phoenix song. I'm pretty sure straight up it's like a warbling note.
And then Dumbledore's like, allow me to explain what the title of the last chapter was about.
Yeah, exactly. Convenient, like, plot stuff. Like, the two sibling wands will not act properly against each other. It's the kind of thing that's so much cooler to watch than it is to, like, hear explained. Like, when it's explained, it's like, but why? Why did it move them to an empty field for a dramatic showdown?
Yeah, it also is one of those things where it's like, if this is just like a known effect of sibling wands, I don't know, you feel like you would try real hard to not have that happen to you if you had a nemesis, per se.
Ollivander's like, tee-hee-hee-hee, this will be so funny someday.
Literally.
Did Voldemort know about the connection before this?
No.
Though?
Dumbledore
Right.
and Ollivander did,
And they
Right.
told no one, because Dumbledore tells no one.
because then it wouldn't be dramatic.
And in this situation, it worked out to help him because
You're
Harry
right
at
about
least
that.
got away. But yeah, so I'm like, well, now Voldemort knows. So obviously he's like, what just happened there? We can't be having that again. But we
To
still
the
need have that again."
library, said
Yeah.
Voldemort.
How often do we think brother wands happen in the Harry Potter universe?
Well, here's the thing. It's like the cores. And the cores are like these sort of obscure parts from magical creatures like dragon heartstring, unicorn hair, or phoenix feather. And as you mentioned, there's only one phoenix in this world. So like it's probably pretty fucking hard to get like a unicorn hair. So you would take like 15, you know?
So you feel like there's like a lot. It's like how probably you move through the whole world and your electronic car key never unlocks another car, but it is technically possible.
Yeah, I think though this one was different because the phoenix that produced the feather, obviously Fox, only produced 2.
He only gave 2. Yeah.
You know, they're obviously linked through the prophecy, and I think it was just another way that they were linked.
Maybe the sibling wand thing is like more potent for them because it's not like spread amongst 15 different unicorn hairs.
Yeah, and they're already linked in so many different ways. I think it only would make sense for their cores to also be linked.
Well, their cores in their bodies are linked.
Yeah.
So why not link their wands?
It just feels like if you wanted some like extra Death Eater protection, you could like go to Ollivander and be like, hey yo, you got another unicorn hair wand with like a Bellatrix match because that bitch is after me.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, you know he'd remember too.
Like maybe there's a premium price on sibling wands.
But I also feel like when they're talking about Priori and Cantatum in this way, like they almost feel like they're like, oh, like the legend says, like this only happens once in a bajillion years. Like it seems like it's not something that is well known or happens
Yeah.
all the time.
I mean, I don't know. Literally, Dumbledore mentions it, and Sirius is immediately like, the reverse spell effect, of course. Like, Sirius isn't an intellectual.
It's also an intentional spell. If you'll remember at the Quidditch World Cup, they did Priori and Cantatum as like an intentional spell on
Harry's wand, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe he's just like, this is what I learned in school.
Or you could theorize that it is like a theoretical thing for whenever like wizards are dueling and their wands link, that, you know, doesn't really happen very often. So he's heard of it, but he's never seen it happen.
Right.
Yeah. I'm imagining some like whiny wizard being like, our wands must be siblings because otherwise I'd be beating you right now. Like when your little brother's like, I got the broken GameCube controller and that's why I'm losing.
For me, it's the wind was blowing, so my basketball shot. Definitely, that was what it was.
Classic. So Dumbledore's like, all right, bro, you've done enough today, frankly. Let's go have a sleeping potion in the hospital wing. And Sirius Black is permitted to stay with Harry in dog form. So they go up to the hospital wing where Mrs. Weasley, Bill, Ron, and Hermione are all waiting, very extremely concerned. So Dumbledore's like, y'all can all stay. All y'all can stay. But don't fucking speak to him because he has had a lot going on today. Harry sees Mad-Eye Moody, the real one, in a distant hospital wing. He is unconscious and his body parts aren't attached to him, but I guess he'll be okay.
It's just such a brutal way to recover. It's also just wild to me because I feel like in later books, he and Harry just continues on like, oh yeah, I know you. And Moody's like, I guess I'm just not going to question this because it must be really confusing for you. But I feel like they never actually build a bond. It's just assumed because they had one magical year where he was locked in a trunk.
It's so true. But also he becomes the chosen one. So it's like everyone knows Harry fucking Potter. And Harry feels like he knows Mad-Eye Moody. So it works out.
I just really wish that at like some point in later books, Harry was like, oh, like, yeah, these are your favorite cupcakes, right? And Moody was like, you're having a crouch memory, bud.
Yeah, that must have been your other Moody that you did that with.
Or like, remember when you told me that story from that one time in college and Mad-Eye Moody's like, no, that wasn't me.
No recollection.
Like when I bring up a story to my husband and I'm like, remember when we did this thing? And he's like, that was a earlier boyfriend.
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, it was a great story. I'm going to tell it anyway. So everyone gathers around Harry in his bed. I mean, it's bad, dude. He's like, I would love to be asleep immediately. So they make him asleep immediately.
Dreamless immediate sleep. Once again, I just really need to go into how nice that sounds.
Dude, I'm just happy, literally for the first time ever, I'm just happy that he's unconscious at this point. Every other time he's fallen unconscious, I'm like, hey, man, you need to get it together. But right now, I'm like, dude, go to sleep.
I don't know. I've been taking too many sleeping pills recently. But like immediately it was just like, I wonder how addictive this is. Like I could see people like getting hooked on the dreamless sleep and needing it to go to bed. Especially you get like someone like a Moody character, like a deeply traumatized aura. You feel like this would probably be a pretty in-demand thing to be able to make happen.
Dude, there's people out there who can't fall asleep without getting stoned first. I'm not one of those people, but a lot of weed smokers, when they like quit after a long time smoking weed, they start having really vivid dreams. It's like a dream suppressant kind of to like smoke weed. And it's like a terrible part of like quitting weed is like the crazy dreams.
Pregnancy also ratchets up your dreams. That's one of those super fun side effects.
I wonder if it's just something that happens anytime. You know, because, you know, fever dreams are a thing, too. I wonder if any time your body is, like, experiencing just the slightest of shifts, it's like, red alert!
It's just doing a lot.
No, they're, like, wild, dude. They're the wildest dreams I've ever had in my entire life.
Whoa. That's bonkers.
And you're already tired, but then you wake up and you're like, was I just in an action film? Like, I'm exhausted.
Are you two okay?
No,
we're not.
No, once again, I say it all the time. Pregnancy is body horror, and you shouldn't do it unless you're 100% sure.
Man, I wish you guys could high five right now. Yeah. Okay, so I'm like, how do I move off the pregnancy angle? Harry Potter is asleep in the hospital wing, and he awakes to shouting because Professor Minerva Minnie McGonagall is absolutely screaming at the president of magic.
He deserves it.
I love it. I hate why it's happening.
Yeah. Harry has never seen her like this. Like, she's got blotches on her face. Like, she's screaming. She's fucking mad, dude. You do not want to be on the receiving end of this. Fudge isn't strong enough for this.
Well, it's also like Emily brought up earlier, it's like it's his first time seeing Dumbledore mad, and it's also his first time seeing McGonagall like mad.
Yeah, instead of just like stern.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely seeing like new sides to his professors that he's not seen before, and new sides to like life that he's not seen before too. Because we'll get there, but like when Fudge starts like talking shit about him in front of him, and he's like,
bro.
Well, it's really like one of those turns that does happen around this age where it's like, hey, you're 14 now. The adults in your life are people. Okay, bye.
What a truly traumatizing revelation. You're like, they're no better than me. They're just older. Damn it.
Yeah.
I thought they were in charge.
Yeah, I think also that they have this like emotion under their anger too. Like they're shaken to their core because a kid just came back dead. And they're like, they're all just like reacting. And so he's seeing just like these pure reactions and emotions from leaders in his life and people that make him feel safe as a child at a school. And he's like, wait, they don't have their shit together anymore. So the shit is just not together at all.
Yeah, so I almost said Professor Fudge, as if.
As if.
Professor McGonagall and Fudge and Dumbledore are like all standing around screaming at each other. Apparently, Cornelius Fudge brought a Dementor with him to question Barty Crouch. Okay, first of all, where did he get a Dementor from?
Just brought him from Azkaban.
he's just a little bitch. He's too scared. He's like, I need this bodyguard.
He had to like send for a Dementor from Azkaban after the third task.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, I mean, okay, did he express ship a Dementor? Because it's also one of those things where it's like, it wouldn't have just been after the third task. It would have been immediately after Cedric turned up dead, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then he takes him in, I don't know.
I wonder if you can apparate with a Dementor. Can you, like, just go get one, take it with you?
You can't apparate within the Hogwarts grounds.
Yeah,
though.
he would have to, like, walk
have to, like, go
Hogsmeade.
down to the gate and apparate away and get it, or send somebody to do it.
Was it like one Dementor's time off and he was just having a lovely weekend in Hogsmeade?
It's like when cops are like, no, I'm in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, because isn't Azkaban in the Black Sea, or am I misremembering that? So it's not even, like, near the UK, I don't think.
No, it is not.
Where is Azkaban? Not Azerbaijan.
I feel like maybe Baltic Sea.
Oh, it's the North Sea. Okay, wait, now which one's the North Sea? Oh, it's the one in the north. And then I tried to open maps, and then now it's like Google Maps, where is Azkaban?
And Google Maps is like, oh, fucking know.
Apparently there's a dog shelter called Azkaban Canine, just in case anyone was wondering.
Oh, why? It's the worst thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a pound. I didn't really look into it that hard.
No, there's not a way to recover that statement, dude. It's bad no matter what. There's dogs in Azkaban.
I'm gonna think that they're being mistreated.
We're not gonna look any farther into that. So in theory, I take it back. Azkaban could actually be quite near Hogwarts. Seems like a bad place to keep Azkaban, but the North Sea is right there where Scotland is. So
I just feel like there's gotta be like a checkout procedure, surely, for borrowing a Dementor.
I mean, not when you're the Minister of Magic, and he probably just,
true.
like, has them on call. Like, he probably has a person on his staff that he just gives a nod with his bowler hat, and they know, oh, gotta go get a Dementor, you know?
Dementor guy. I'm the Dementor guy.
The Dementor Wrangler.
Or perhaps he just keeps them close, and, like, nobody knows. Like, he could just break the laws if it is a law. I'm not sure if it actually is a law. He just likes, like, go hang out in Hogsmeade in the shadows, and if I need you, I'll summon you.
God, that's creepy. Dementors in the shadows where you don't expect them is, like, the creepiest thing. Okay, so anyway, when brought in the proximity of Barty Crouch Jr., the Dementor simply could not control itself. And it just had to kiss him immediately.
It's
too
straight
delicious.
to sucking.
Yeah.
I can understand the Dementor's drive here. I think we've all been in a situation where you're just like, 0 to 100, this is going down right now.
Dude, if I just had David Tennant like that, sure. Sure, I'd kiss him.
For me, it's just like walking into a Mexican restaurant and like diving into a bowl of queso.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing that I probably have no restraint.
See, this will be me after birth with like a bottle of Pinot Grigio. Like it'll just be like just
nice.
beeline for it. I won't even think.
It's going to be me with a sushi platter.
Oh yeah, girl, same.
I'm having my husband keep one in the fridge in like the couple of weeks leading up to potential due date so that I can eat it at the hospital.
Wow.
Oh my god, that's very cute. Love that. So the Dementor performed the Dementor's kiss. So Barty Crouch has had his soul sucked out through his mouth. And he's worse than dead now.
He's just a husk.
And Fudge is like, who the fuck cares? He's insane.
And Dumbledore's like, I don't know, man, trial, testimony, like, who
Evidence.
the fuck are you? How
Yeah.
did you get this job?
Dude, the first time that Barty Crouch Jr. got convicted, he also didn't get... in his trial, it was like, well, there's no evidence for this, but you seem like you're not very sorry to be caught, so we're sending you. And Barty Crouch Sr. is like, I don't even know who this guy is, so send him to jail. Like, this justice system is nonsense.
I mean, to be fair, we've seen that before, you know, with like the whole blowing up Aunt Marge thing where they're just like, ooh, looks like you're expelled and everything's awful. And then the minister just gets to swoop in and be like, psych.
We're just happy that you're okay.
Right. And then a couple bucks later, he's on full-blown trial for using expecto patronum. It's like, they just pick and choose which laws they're going to follow and which trials they're going to have. Which,
For sure.
you know, could also be a commentary. So,
It also feels like they need a second, less intense prison.
Yeah, for a jail. A jail. Like a cool, regular jail with just regular guys.
Because, like, what do you do to someone who, like, I don't know, stole, like, a box of chocolate frogs? You just send them to whole-ass Azkaban?
Azkaban. Well, Harry, when he did magic out, I don't remember like when exactly, but at some point he's like, they're gonna send me to Azkaban. Maybe it was when he like, the Aunt Marge thing.
I think that's him freaking out as a kid. I feel like for a lot of things, you're like, you've got three options. They either like take your wand and you're fucked. You go to Azkaban, or like, I guess you pay a fine. Like, I don't think the wizarding world has a lot of different types of punishment.
Do they have capital punishment?
I think the closest to capital punishment
the kiss.
is the
Dementor's
Dementor's
kiss.
kiss. Yeah.
Okay, but here's what I don't understand, and I'm so sorry to do this, but why keep the body? Why not just kill a person if it's a fate worse than death? Like, what are we doing here?
So it kind of feels to me like this is one of those like thinly veiled real world arguments of like, it's better to keep someone in solitary confinement for the rest of their life than doing the death penalty. Like, I think it's the same argument. I'm not going to comment one way or the other on that. It's just like, I think it's meant to be analogous to like the concept of like, well, we can't kill someone, so we should just let them rot in prison. You know what I mean?
right. But then I think you're faced with the other reality of bodies take up space in a prison, and a prison only has a finite amount of space, so we're wasting our resources and our money to keep these people in here. So to that point, it's like, well, if they're going to stay in here forever anyways, like there's no getting out, they're going to die here.
You know what would probably help this issue is if you gave people in your magical universe fair trials, and then maybe
Correct.
some of them are innocent, and they don't have to go
And then
to
people
Azkaban.
could get out without dying one way or the other. But
Well, also there's a lot of weirdness around like going to Azkaban but not getting kissed. I don't know why that sounds better.
That's gotta be... There's a porno name in there. I know there is.
But either way, it's like, it's assumed that you're gonna be driven mad. Because, like, Sirius said that almost everyone in there was mad, and the only way that he didn't A, die, or B, go crazy was because he would just become a dog. So, I don't know.
Huh, that's got me wondering, like, it's never occurred to me before, but, like, what if when Bellatrix went in, she was, like, pretty cool? Like, kind of normal.
I feel like she was already crazy.
I feel like if anything, it just amplified it a bit, or she just thrived off the situation. Like,
yeah, I feel like she was like, this is my comfort zone. I'm good here.
she was like, this is a casual Saturday.
She's the bitch that showed up, immediately punched someone in the cafeteria and was like, does anyone have any questions?
Right.
Yeah, I think the Dementors probably, like, report back to her. But going back to what you said about the prisons, it reminded me, and I don't know how you all feel about the Fantastic Beasts films, or if you've seen them, but there is a prison in the, like, American Ministry of Magic. So maybe there are, like, other prisons that are less crazy, or where, like, could be other
there's
prisons.
no way the American prison is less crazy. It's got to be some other. It's got to be like the
in this,
French
it's just
prison or
people
something,
guarding it, and it was pretty damn easy for Grindelwald to break out. So perhaps if we're like counting this as canon or not, we can just like assume that there are other prisons that maybe are just guarded by regular old Joe wizards. But then I also just feel like because we're dealing with wizards and because magic exists in this universe, it's like you kind of have to put the max effect of like blockage to get out, because otherwise I'm a wizard and I'm gonna figure it out.
That's true.
Do y'all like Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Legend of Korra?
Yeah.
She probably has. I don't know if I have.
I have, yeah.
There's like this one season where like they're breaking all these benders out of jail, and like the water bender is like in this like arid like room. I kind of forget, but they're all in like super like
They all need
crazy
specialized prisons.
Yeah, it's like you're not gonna get any water, including in your body. Like you're gonna be like a mummy. And like, I'm trying to remember the other ones. I just remember that one hot bitch with the water arms.
The firebenders, they lock in ice.
Yeah, I just remembered the hot bitch with the water arms. She's so cool.
She's a lot.
She's so cool.
I think regardless here, we can all agree that Brady Crouch actually kind of gets off easy.
Yeah.
Like, they say it's a fate worse than death, but, like, is it worse to be driven insane or to, like, just become a vegetable?
I don't know if we're equipped for that conversation.
I mean, I feel like he got off easy originally with his dad kind of being corruptamundo and doing the switcheroo with his wife, and then Winky just kind of, like, bending to his every whim and will and fighting for him to have more freedom. And that, in my opinion, he got off easy there. So he's just kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to say he thinks he's like invincible or indestructible, but he's definitely just like, obviously he is mad.
Well, now he just doesn't think.
I mean, even if he had gone back to Azkaban, like had a confession, a fair trial, went back to Azkaban, he would have been broken out the next year anyway. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
that's a good point. Under Bellatrix's wing.
Yeah, he would have just flown with her.
Or she would have killed him in there because she didn't want any competition for being Voldemort's favorite.
True.
Or, like, maybe he also could have been kissed in Azkaban. We've seen people get sentenced to Azkaban. We've never seen people get sentenced to smooching.
Do we also, like, know for sure after the Dementors kiss, they just let him chill there? This sounds really bad. I feel like they just push him into the sea. Honestly. Like,
wow. See, and it's like, just kill him at that point.
Maybe they just put him in a Matrix pod and they use their magic to power the world around them.
Can you tell that Brooke and I watched The Matrix 3 days ago?
I actually just had a conversation with somebody about needing to see that movie, but I feel like you're probably going to get some people being like, you guys should know this, you're wrong. There's probably some explanation somewhere that we just, like, aren't hitting, and that's fine, that's whatever.
Oh my god, we're wrong on this podcast all the time.
All the time.
Every day.
The good news is that our hardcore viewers tend to either, like, very detailed correct us, but not in a mean way, or they're also just like, that's kind of cool to think about, even if it's wrong.
Yeah. But I think that we can agree that he was gonna get the Dementor's kiss regardless. It just would have been preferable if he could have given his testimony again before it happened.
I mean, I just can't stop laughing. I'm gonna write a romance novel called Smooched in Azkaban.
Sentenced to smooching.
Sentenced to smooching. And it's like a Dementor's cloak, except for it's like tastefully open at the top. And there's just like a rugged, hairy chest.
Well, I mean, when they first describe it as like sucking silvery, I don't know, something out of someone's mouth, it's like, okay, well, that's graphic.
It seems like potentially just like a fully unhinged, like unthrottled version of like a pensieve in a way. Because it's like, it's described very similarly in terms of like your soul getting sucked out via your memories getting sucked out. So maybe your memories is just soul.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Deep.
That might be the most tender thing you've ever said.
Thanks. don't put it on the podcast.
Okay. It's time for the standoff. Dumbledore tells Fudge that Voldemort has actually, in fact, returned from whatever. He is ghost form.
And Fudge professionally says, I'm putting my fingers in my ears and la 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 all the way out of the room.
Yeah. During this like back and forth, Fudge starts smiling. That's the worst part to me, is that he's like kind of laughing this whole time. And he's like, oh, okay, so you're just going to like believe this insane 14-year-old. Like, okay, Albus. And he's smiling.
Yeah. It's very condescending.
Have you guys ever like been in a fight where the other person thinks it's funny? Like, has this ever happened to you where someone has laughed at you while you're fighting?
Yeah, I mean, I was a teenage girl, so.
Well, 2 or 3 days ago, I was shit-faced drunk, and I came home to my husband, and I misunderstood a thing, and I picked a fight because I misunderstood the thing, and I was very drunk, and Sean could not make me understand the misunderstanding, and he was laughing at me, and it didn't help the situation.
Right. Dumbledore handles it like a pro, though. He's just like, you're a lost cause.
Like, I feel like it could be, though, like, you know, when, like, a shitty parent is like, well, Timmy couldn't have bitten your kid because he's an angel. Like, I could also see that on the flip side, you know what I mean? Where it's like, all right, Dumbledore, we all know you really like this kid, but, like, he's saying some pretty wild things here.
Right. And Fudge is, like, believing what he's reading in the media about him.
But this is also one of those moments where, like, once again, how great would it be if Dumbledore's just like, yeah, well, I'm a legitimate, so that is why I know it's real.
The thing is that when it comes down to it, like, this fight, it all goes back to Fudge. Because, like, no matter how you look at it, they could have had a definitive answer to this if he hadn't let Barty Crouch get kissed. It just sounds adorable every time you say it.
Well, it seems like he didn't believe Barty Crouch either, though, because he was like, well, Barty Crouch was crazy, and he thought that he was like, he basically tried to insinuate that he was having a psychotic break, and that he thought that Voldemort was giving him instructions, but clearly that could not be the case.
Right.
Dude, I think that Fudge did not know that Barty Crouch was, like, under the influence of Veritaserum, because he only heard messages through the telephone. So I think that he was like, oh, well, he's obviously insane, because that's a lie, and then, like, let the kiss happen. And now he learned that other people heard evidence, like, under Veritaserum, and he's like, well, I can't possibly say I was wrong, so I'm just gonna really double down on this.
Do they even say that he used Veritaserum? Like, does Dumbledore tell Fudge that they use Veritaserum?
At some point in this argument, I'm pretty sure he mentions it.
I must have missed
I'm pretty
it.
sure he could have, like, been in the room while they did this whole testimony with Barty Crouch Jr., had Harry give him his whole tale, and he still probably would have not wanted to believe it. I think at this point, the Wizarding World has been so rocked by Voldemort before that he would literally do anything in his power to convince himself and everyone else that no, Voldemort's not back. There's no way. This is not happening. This is not happening under my, rule or whatever. Like, absolutely not.
But at least if Fudge had been in the room with Dumbledore, Snape, McGonagall, and Harry, and like Winky and Barty Crouch, if they had all been in the room together, even if Fudge didn't want to believe it, at least Dumbledore and company would have been, like, more in control of the situation at that point. They could have, like, prevented a Dementor from doing anything. So it just sucks that Fudge, like, let this happen. Like, he obviously made a mistake. This was, like, the wrong thing to do. And he's making it everybody else's problem.
Why is he so caught up about the parcel mouth thing? Like, I get that it's, like, traditionally associated with dark wizards, but I was also under the impression that it's not a thing you can cultivate or change.
It's really, I think, just coming out that, like, I think we're realizing that Fudge is the bad guy, and he's, like, probably, like, really prejudiced about a lot of stuff. Because he talks about, like, for example, he's like, I needed to take a Dementor with me for protection when I went to interview Barty Crouch Jr., and if anyone else in this castle had needed protection, they would have gone to Hagrid, I think, probably. But Fudge would never have gone to Hagrid because I think he's prejudiced, and I think that Parselmouth is, like, part of that. He is like, this is evil.
Well, and I think, when it was revealed that Harry was a Parselmouth, like, everyone was kind of scared of him for a bit. Like, I think it's just a thing that it's kind of a dark darker magical thing that happens to very few people that he's just like, well, I mean, how can you believe this kid? There's like constantly stuff we don't know about him that's like popping up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the last known parcel mouth that most people knew of was Voldemort, so they just associate it with him and Slytherin.
It would just be really cool if Fudge was, like, a good guy and was like, I understand that you're 14 and, like, your destiny is not set in stone, and the fact that you speak this language doesn't make you an evil person. And, like, let's figure it out together, child with no parents who needs guidance.
But, like, also, I do at least, like, base level understand why he's not stepping into a role of being, like, a parental figure or a guardian, which, like, Harry's gotten really lucky with a lot of adults in his life being like, I'm willing to mentor you in this moment. Part of that is because he lives in a school. But, like...
Mentors everywhere.
If you, like, run into a 14-year-old having an episode on the street, you're not going to be like, okay, clearly you need an adult. You're just going to be like, okay, I'm going to call in anyone else.
Oh, man, I don't agree. I think 14 is young enough that I would be like, do you need help?
But 14 is also old enough that they can, like, hurt you.
Like, I don't think I would, like, get in there.
And they can be shitty and intentional about it. Like, 14 is a freshman in high school. Like, that's old enough that you can do things like consciously tell lies or try to cover your ass if you accidentally
You can consciously lie when you're 5 years old. It's my niece proves to me all the time. But
you can do it well at 14.
It has been said about Harry in the media now from Rita Skeeter all year long that he's a liar, that he has an inflated ego, that he wants to be on top, he wants all this stuff. So at this point, like, he's just believing what he's reading. Mm-hmm. And now that Dumbledore on top of it's telling him the darkest wizard of all time has come back and it's the last thing he wants to hear, he just doesn't want to hear it. He's just like, no, I'm not believing this kid at face value.
I think it's also just like a deep-seated insecurity that Fudge has with Dumbledore. He's so afraid. I think he's afraid on two fronts. He's afraid to, like, ally himself with Dumbledore too closely because then people are just gonna, like, follow Dumbledore and not him, as they should. Mm-hmm. But then he's also afraid of, like, being on Dumbledore's bad side, as anyone should be afraid. But at this point, he's like, okay, we've reached an impasse. Like, this chapter is literally an impasse. And yeah, while I'm afraid of you and, like, have mad respect for you because I'm afraid of you, like, you're just listening to this 14-year-old who obviously we as in the rest of the wizarding world have been reading all these things about. We know about him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's the boy who lived. But now you're going to tell me that in that maze, somehow Voldemort came back and killed Cedric Diggory? I gotta draw the line. I can't be fucking with this. And also, like, I don't want you to be the one telling everybody this, and then you become Minister of Magic and take away my power, because I'm going to need to hold on to that.
Yeah, and that totally is just, like, all Fudge, because Dumbledore's made it extremely clear that he has no interest in that.
Right.
Yeah, so Harry's, like, accusing Fudge of reading Rita fucking Skeeter. He's like, you're saying things that she said, and, like, it was perhaps not quite accurate. Maybe you should get your own information. And then, perhaps unwisely, but I don't fault Harry for anything he's doing, pretty much in this whole book. Perhaps unwisely, though, he starts, like, naming names of the Death Eaters who were there, and Fudge is like, you dumb idiot, like, you could have just been reading the trials that we did for all the Death Eaters that weren't Death Eaters before.
Because that's what we all do in our spare time. We just, like, research people who got off.
Yeah, you know, children love that. It's not good that he starts with Lucius Malfoy, I think, is, like, the main move. Start with, like, a more obscure name. Maybe.
Well, and we already know, too, from the past books and everything that Lucius and Fudge are, like, friends.
Yeah,
right.
Hate that.
Donated lots of money to the school. Respectable family. Blah, 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 blah.
Now you're accusing one of his friends of being a Death Eater. I mean, you know.
Get better friends, Fudge.
Yeah.
So Dumbledore lays it out, like, straight up. He's like, literally, Voldemort has returned, whether or not you acknowledge it. Like, if you want to, right now, you can control the damage and get ahead of it. If we start right now. And Fudge is like, no. And the parallels are not lost on me. This is big, like, early COVID energy.
Well, even the Rita Skeeter stuff is, like, big current to COVID energy of the whole, like, concept of, you know, media manipulation. Like, all of this felt so deeply, deeply relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. it's hard to read Fudge in this chapter without thinking of Trump, you know?
I mean, it's hard to read anything in this chapter without just thinking of it, like any current event, like the general way that
America.
those go now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, even in other countries, there's like, you know, intentional misinformation campaigns. That's a thing we just saw with Russia, you know, and like oh my God, I'm so sorry. My dog has chosen her loudest toy. Can you hear that?
Yeah, but I don't hear her snorting. She's a pug. She's
Oh my
a loud
God, are
baby.
all Ravenclaws pregnant and have pugs? What the fuck is happening?
Oh, do you also have a pug?
Yeah, I have 2 pugs.
Yes.
What are their names?
August and Stanley.
Oh, those are excellent pug
Those
names.
are really good.
Like 10 out of 10 pug names.
Those are really good names. Okay, so Dumbledore is like, here's what we're gonna do. And it's like Ocean's 11 heist, like planning music in the background. Here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna remove the Dementors from Azkaban. You're gonna send envoys to the Giants to make a truce. And we're gonna get ahead of this together. Right, my man? And if you don't, then we have reached a parting of ways. Da-na-na, he said the thing.
Okay, so I canonically don't remember anything about reading this series. And, like, I really read the start of this chapter and was like, oh, cool, this is going to be like one of those boring, like, denouement chapters where just all of the schools go home.
No.
That's what I thought was happening here.
No,
I
that
was
happens in the
very
chapter called
alarmed.
The Beginning.
I was very alarmed.
Yeah, Brooke has only read this book series once when it first came out, and this is her first time revisiting it since then, so that's fun.
I don't reread books with the, again, canonical exception of Twilight Eclipse, which I've probably read like 8 times. It's the only book I've ever reread.
If you're gonna reread a Twilight book, that is the one to reread, in my
Eclipse is the
humble
best
opinion.
of the series, yes.
It is.
The most ridiculous, for sure.
I made Michael watch it recently, the movie, which he had never seen. Oh, boy.
It's extremely special. Just that stupid tent. We can't get into this.
We came home from a family wedding, and like that was what was on TV. I left the wedding early because I was tired, and like Michael came in to see me watching the tent scene, and he was like, "Oh, is this Twilight?" And I was like, "Okay, if you don't know, you're gonna have to watch this diligently."
You're like anxiously describing backstory to him, like as these weird like tent kiss werewolf moments are happening.
She also left the wedding early because she knew sci-fi was running a marathon, let's be real.
Yeah, it was a Twilight marathon. I was very happy to catch it on TV. I haven't had cable in ages. So when I'm in a hotel room, I'm like, ooh.
Dude, cable is exotic now.
Yeah.
Cable is very cool. Totally. Where was I? Oh, we were at an Airbnb, and I was like, oh my God, they have cable. I'm gonna watch some fucking Nickelodeon commercials. Those are amazing.
Who the fuck pays for cable at an Airbnb? That seems extra unnecessary.
I don't know. Fernando in Florida.
I feel like maybe I would do that and not have people just like logging in to Netflix and Hulu and everything all the time.
They had guest accounts for all that stuff too. This was a pretty decked out Airbnb.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
they just
yeah.
have money to spend. Must have been
Nothing but the best for my best friend's bachelorette party.
it's probably a pretty good income source for them. But
Yeah.
I also wanted to point out the fact that in this chapter, like all the evidence is being laid out to Fudge, and they're like recapping what happened, and then he's still not believing them. And Snape just pulls out his fucking dark mark, and he's like, "Look, bro, do you still not believe me?" Like.
It's actually, like, extremely badass. Like, I am a Snape hater. And, like, pretty much every move he makes, I'm like, you're the worst. But this is an uncharacteristically badass move.
Yeah, I agree.
Where he's like, look, I was a Nazi at one point, and here's my proof.
Right.
And here's your proof.
It's faded a little bit, because, like, an hour or two has passed, but, like, you can tell that this recently just got, like, fucked up. So,
Yeah.
like, this is the evidence. This is all you should need. If you don't believe anything else, you should at least see this and believe this, because you knew that I was indeed a Death Eater.
I also think it's like a particularly risky move as well, because right now they know where Fudge's head is at and what direction he's going in, and he's turning on Harry, a literal child. He's turning on Dumbledore. I mean, you could probably see that coming from a mile away just from what Sam was saying, just from pure jealousy. But who's to say he's not going to turn on Snape? I mean, and then it would be his word against Dumbledore's that, oh, well, you want to believe Dumbledore? Well, he has a literal Death Eater working for him. I mean,
to be fair, Fudge also does.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting that Snape hasn't faced more, like, controversy ever.
Right.
I think everyone already knew that Snape was a
No, I
Death
know,
Eater.
but he would be, like, refreshing everyone's memory.
Yeah, you've had a Death Eater under your wing for the past however many years. Like, maybe we should point the finger at him.
And he's, like, wielding his dark mark now.
I see.
I feel like maybe he's emboldened by the fact that as Harry's naming names, one of the first things Fudge does, he's just like, well, McNair. And he's like, I literally hired that dude.
Yeah, that's true. So in the end, Fudge is like, it can't be true. Fuck this. And leaves. And on his way out, he gives Harry his winnings from the contest, 1,000 galleons.
Just as like a I've paid my whore moment. Like,
He literally tosses it on the bed. It's like, oh yeah.
he's like, we were gonna do a ceremony, but you don't deserve it because you killed someone, kind of.
I'm doing a bit of quick math. Just give me a second. I'm not good at it.
Are you converting galleons to real people money?
It should be easy because it's base 10, but I can't do it. That's about $6,500.
That's not as much as I thought. It's a lot to a kid.
Yeah, it is a lot to a kid. It would be nice, I think, even today, depending on, because he ultimately gives it to Fred and George, and I think, like, depending on the startup the kind of startup that could be very helpful to a startup.
6,500.
6,500 is not enough to even, like, get a space.
But in the 90s.
Yeah, well, and also it's like they don't need a space. I know that they ultimately get a space, but like they don't need the space right away. Like I recently started a startup on $0.00. So like a $6,500 for certain kinds of industries would be really cool. So if it's like $6,000 to like fuck around and make some dope tricks to like
To just get your supplies
money.
to start like making inventory, and then you can start selling, and then you get a space, and then you start branding and marketing and all of that stuff.
If you're doing like a crazy software startup, I don't know anything more about software to make that more specific in Silicon Valley. No, that's not going to go very far. But for a craft, like jokes, sure.
I guess we've never really looked into what the materials cost of like a joke wand is.
Yeah, it's made out of, what is it made out of?
It'd probably be a lot right now, depending on, you may not even be able to make it right now. You cannot get a copier or a printer that prints in color right now. There aren't any that exist in the world.
Wild.
It's crazy.
Oh, grateful I already have one.
Right?
I'm like petting it. It's right here.
Don't die on me now, baby.
So, Dumbledore turns to the room and says there's work to be done. Molly, can we count on you and Arthur? Of course you fucking can. Of course you can. We're talking about the Weasleys. You can count on them. That's the main thing about them.
What if Molly in this moment was like, I've actually got a lot on my plate right now.
Actually, no, you can't. Like, we got a vacation plan. Like,
Albus, in the time between last time you called us up and now, I have had 7 children.
Well, luckily some of them are old enough to work now. So Bill volunteers to go to Arthur so they can start alerting allies within the Ministry of Magic. Dumbledore... And Dumbledore's doing it, dude. He's like, we're doing all of this. He sends McGonagall to bring Hagrid and Madame Maxime to his office, ostensibly so that he can talk to them about going to visit the Giants. He sends Madame Pomfrey to go get Winky, who is still in Mad-Eye Moody's office after witnessing all of the confession, witnessing Barty Crouch get his soul sucked out, and she's just still there. She's just still chilling.
Quite distraught.
Once again,
fuck?
It's literally just 3 straight chapters of like, let's look at a variety of trauma responses. Like,
I hate this for her. So he's like, do what you can for her. I don't know. Who cares? Take her to the kitchens.
do you have like a potion that could make her, I don't know, maybe forget like the last 6 or so years?
Do you have a potion that can make her like stop crying and start working? Because that would be great.
Do you just have like a little thumb you could slip her that's not lightly alcoholic drinks?
I was just about to say the opposite. Do you have maybe like a handle of bourbon you could just give her and it'll resolve itself? So Dumbledore invites Sirius. They're all still in the hospital wing, like Ron, Hermione, and Mrs. Weasley. I said all. I guess that's it. And Dumbledore.
That's the crew.
Oh no, and Sirius and Snape. There's a lot of people. So Dumbledore's like, show yourself. And then the dog is like, joke's on you. I'm a hot, older gentleman.
Well, Molly's literally like, Sirius Black. And Ron
Sirius Black.
does not. Literally goes, Mom, shut up. And I'm like, smack that boy. What the fuck? You just didn't tell Molly Weasley to shut up?
Very funny to me. Well, I mean, he knows that he's innocent, so she's like screaming his name. It's like not a good look.
Also, like, how has Snape not caught on to this before now? Like, I understand that we were doing some things that probably has something to do with it. But Snape's literally just like, oh yeah, I just now realized that really familiar looking dog is here.
Yeah, like that really familiar looking dog whose thoughts I've been reading this whole year, who just wants more chicken. Like, what?
Literally, what?
I feel like he also, and maybe I'm like getting my wires crossed because we're reading All the Young Dudes, which is like prequel canon, but it kind of feels like he knew that, like, he had the idea that they were all like unregistered animaguses. I've never known what the plural form of animagus is, but
I think it's Jim Dale who says animagi.
Yeah, and his voice. I just talked about this in our last podcast episode. The way he pronounces some things, I'm like, what are you doing? It just he's got that flourish. Like, he is dramatic. Yeah, it catches me off guard sometimes. But either way,
Shakespearean.
I feel like Snape had an idea what was happening because he followed them into the Whomping Willow, and they all had to have been like transformed before they went into the Whomping Willow.
Maybe Snape like didn't notice there was a dog in the room,
or maybe he just like didn't have the specifics of like it was that huge shaggy black dog, and I like can see his eyes and tell it's the same one.
I think even if he knew that in the back of his head that was Sirius, he wasn't putting two and two together at this point, and he still blindly hates him. So he was just like, this bitch.
Right, he just feels like betrayed by Dumbledore in this moment that Dumbledore even like has Sirius.
He's
here.
like, I thought I was your number one.
Well, after last year when Snape thought that he had caught Sirius and he was going to be the one to hand him over, and he's just like, okay, so this whole time I thought it was just Potter who let Sirius go out of these doors and like figured out how to do it. But now I see Dumbledore actually had a hand in it because Dumbledore knows who this is.
Which explains why I couldn't figure it out, because Harry's not smarter than me, but Dumbledore sure is.
I mean, bonus that might help with Dumbledore's command to kiss and make up immediately after this happens is that he did at least just hear the Veritaserum confession and, like, Harry's explanation that, like, Wormtail was the one that brought the Dark Lord back. So it does definitely lend some additional credibility to Sirius's side of things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Dumbledore's like, so as a reminder, in case you forgot, Snape and Sirius Black hate each other from school because
they hate each other very much.
Pretty much, because they're fucking antagonist. It's a Sirius kind of antagonist too, but Dumbledore's like, you will shake hands. You are on the same side now. So they do, wouldn't you?
I mean, yeah, but like, I don't know.
I mean, you wouldn't feel good about it. I'd do it with an attitude.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone I hate in my life this consistently and this much that I would care.
I know, it takes me like right back to like getting cheated on in high school and like hating that woman so much. But now as an adult, I'm like, oh, poor sweet child. We were both better than him. What the fuck?
Hate him. Yeah.
I can't compute. I found out my high school boyfriend was cheating on me with another girl and we just had a threesome.
I wasn't quite ready for that in high school. I still had a lot of jealousy feelings to work through.
I don't know.
I think what I'm saying is that's the last time I've hated someone so much.
That's fair. I hated Margaret, but that was just because she was unnecessarily rude to me on the cheerleading squad.
Margaret! Oh my god, like, we're coming for you, Margaret.
It just comes right back to, like, it shouldn't be this big of a deal. You guys are whole adults. You guys are whole adults. Like, both of them need to let it go. I mean, Sirius at least has something more, like, recent to be pissed about with him trying to, like, intentionally get him Dementor kissed. But, like, I don't know. Snape kind of feel like he has no ground to stand on right now.
Yeah.
He's just a grumpy boy.
It's pretty immature.
So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think both of these men are pretty emotionally immature.
It's literally like, dude, that was high school. Like, can we get over it?
Yep. Dude, that was high school. That woman you're in love with, man, that was high school.
She didn't love you.
Well, it's also one of those things where it's like Dumbledore is, you know, like he's seen petty teenage bullshit for what, like 80 some odd years now?
1 million years.
So it's like for him, he's like especially like, hey guys, like, come on. If Voldemort being back can't make you guys shake hands and kind of chill, then like, what the fuck is wrong with both of yous?
Right.
Yeah. So Dumbledore instructs Sirius Black to alert, quote, the old crowd, unquote, who apparently consists of only Lupin, Mrs. Arabella Figg, and Mundungus Fletcher.
Old dunghead. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I guess so. I was like, surely there's someone else.
They're all dead.
That's all he names. And then they're supposed to, like, group at Lupin's house or something. But then I think about it, and I'm like, well, it's really just, like, the Weasleys and the rest of the Aurors. That's it. That's all of the Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah, so, because Arthur is ostensibly going to contact the Aurors who are into it because they're at the Ministry. And then Dumbledore's like, lay low at Lupin's. So Sirius turns back into a dog and pieces out. Cool exit. I'm a dog now. That's like a great exit.
And like I did hate, like, genuinely it made me mad that like there's a throwaway line where it's like he sprints to the door and then opens it with a paw. I'm
my god.
Fuck that. No, absolutely fuck that. That's
No, it was the like it wasn't like a twisty knob. It was like a down like you would find in a regular high school, not an old-timey castle high school.
even then you're assuming that the door opens out and
oh my god, all doors should open out because of the crash bars from the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. I think all doors open out.
I'm sorry, you think the Triangle Shirtwaist Factor has something to do with the building code at Hogwarts?
Okay, regardless, it was just kind of like a cheesy line that she...
I was like, don't mention it at all.
No, I love it.
No! You love that he has a Paw Patrol moment at the last minute.
Yes, I love it so much. Just let him go. He's an adult. Like you said, he could get out the door by himself.
Like, at least go over as a human, deal with the door situation, and then transform. You don't have to be a dog for this moment, man. Use your thumbs.
That's like, there's a chapter where he is a dog and he's carrying a newspaper in his mouth and he transforms into a human before he takes the newspaper out of his mouth. It's like, he doesn't really think about it. Because he's like half dog at this point.
I know he's really blurred the line between animal and human at this juncture, but it still feels a little unnecessary.
Okay, so next, this moment I think is pretty cool. I think I said this exact thing earlier in this episode, but like I literally almost never am like on board. I'm almost never happy to see Snape in a scene. I'm almost never like, yeah, cool move. You did that. Like, good for you. But Dumbledore says, Severus, you know what I must ask you to do if you are ready, if you are prepared. And Snape's like, yep, I'm out. And he like, I punched my microphone because I'm enthusiastic. And he fucking goes to Voldemort to be like, I'm here and I'm ready. Oh my God. I love it. Yeah. I love it. It's very dramatic.
Hey, dude, saws about the earlier thing, but I'm here now.
I'm here now.
And I also love that they say that Dumbledore like says good luck and then has this look of apprehension on his face because like really he doesn't know if Snape's gonna come back from this. Like Snape could go to Voldemort and Voldemort could just kill him. So he's like, well, good luck.
Especially because his motivation was so tied up in just being mad about Lily, and like he's proven in his treatment of Harry and his subsequent treatment of Sirius that like he's not really in for the protection of Harry.
He doesn't really believe in the cause.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and then it's also like, I hope that you have beefed up your occlumency skills because like you're about to be put to the test right now. So it's almost like he's asking, are you ready like in here to go back there?
Well, and there's also the flash forward of like, are you ready? Because there's a high chance you'll have to kill me.
Oh yeah. Well, no, that doesn't happen yet though, because that starts when he gets his ring cookie.
That's true. That's true.
He doesn't know about that.
But
yet.
like, just like, are you ready for whatever this might be? So like, I've always like Snape's bad. Like he's a bad guy. He's a bad dude. His backstory's bad. His redemption arc's bad. Like it's all bad. That's how I feel. But I really enjoy his double agent story. Like, that to me is so cool. And if he had had a better motivation for doing that, like maybe being like very real in love with James Potter, who reciprocated it, just as like a random example, I think that a more compelling motivation would have made his double agent story even cooler. Because I love when he's a double agent. That's so fun. Is he good? Is he bad? We don't know.
I wish we saw more of it. I feel like we spend more time with Frank in this book than we get of like Snape's double agent time.
Yeah.
It's true, but Snape's just being deputy to the deputy headmistress in this book. Like, he's really not doing anything. He's just like, I'm here however I can help, Dumbledore.
And Emily and I have talked about this multiple times, that we feel like Snape is a bad person, but he's a really good character. Like, he's a very complex, compelling, interesting character who, like, you hate because of who he is and the choices that he makes and how he comes across and how he's just a child abuser. But he has the most depth of almost any character in this series of how much we could unpack.
It's super true. My only complaint is that, like, if he's such a good character, give him a good character arc. You know, like Zuko from Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Right. There are a few character arcs like Zuko's, though.
It's true.
But I'm not a Snape fan at all. And he is a good character. I do stand by that. I really think that there's also few other characters who would put themselves in such a situation where, like, he could really die at any time.
Yeah.
It would take one slip up, like one bad day, and he's just gone.
You know, he's very courageous. And that's something that you don't usually associate with him. Like, that's not a term that you would usually give to Snape, but, like, he really is. He's very courageous for, like, doing this.
And I also feel like he doesn't really have shit to lose. Like,
well, that's true, too.
He doesn't. Yeah.
So Dumbledore leaves to meet with the Diggories. Bad day, guys, huh?
rip. Yeah.
So then Mrs. Weasley encourages Harry to take the rest of his sleeping potion. And she's like, no jealousy at all. Think about what you're going to buy with your winnings, you rich prick of a child. No, she's feeling very matronly in this moment. And, like, the guilt sort of overcomes Harry. And Mrs. Weasley just, like, hugs him. A mother's hug. And he's never really been hugged like that before. And maybe she should have hugged him like that before now.
I feel like she's been working really hard up to this point to not overstep her boundaries. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, this is the point where she's like, this is a broken baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gotta hug it. Don't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like at this point, it's all he needs. It's just some, like, physical affection. And while they don't know if it's going to be okay, just for her to be like, it'll be fine. It'll be okay. Yeah. At least for now.
If this were one of my adult friends who had experienced this level of trauma, that's when I would come in and be like, do you want food? Do you want weed? Do you want booze? Do you want candy? Do you want a movie? Do you want to walk? What do you want? I'll give you a hug.
Well, and then, like, in the middle of this really tender moment, we literally just get, like, we hear, like, a slap at the window. And
a slam.
It's literally
like, boom.
Right. And then it's Hermione turns around and everyone's like, and she's like, nothing.
You good?
It's very funny. She literally is just like,
nothing
sorry.
at all. Nothing.
Yeah, nothing to see here. Don't worry about this. What's in my hand?
And, like, I'm doing, like, okay, so what she did is she caught Rita Skeeter as a beetle in her hand. And, like, I'm thinking, I'm doing, like, I'm doing an air pocket in my fist right now. This is not a lot of space for a beetle to be in if they also cannot escape. Like, she must have immediately, like, ran to go resolve this because it's probably tickling, maybe biting.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to do it. I can't handle, like, creepy crawly creatures. No. So I would have had to figure out a way to, like, get a jar before I captured her.
Yeah,
I cannot touch it.
You would have had to, like, act like you didn't notice her and then, like, casually go get one of those, like, little hospital cups of water and then, like, get her.
Yeah, or, like, a glove or something, and I don't know. But, yeah.
No, you still have to, if you're wearing a glove, you still have to grab it.
Well, I would have, like, put her in the glove, like, blown up the glove and then dropped her inside. I don't know. It's like,
I love that.
But I'm like, do they even have gloves in the hospital wing? I don't know. But I would have, like,
no way.
They have, like, an empty potion bottle somewhere. I don't know. But I would not have been able to touch her. So props to Hermione on being able to touch the bug.
Yeah, but also, like, thank God she had figured that out.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Because, like,
she heard
could you
everything.
imagine how different things could have turned out had Hermione not been on her A game and not figured out her secret? Like, shit would have hit the fan real fucking quick. And it would have been a nightmare to come back from.
I'm, like, wondering, like, did Hermione notice it in that moment? Or, like, was she sneaking up to the beetle? Or, like, I really wish we could see her, like, I want to see, like, a 3-minute short of her, like, noticing and, like, trying to figure it out.
I feel like this whole time she was like, this is a high drama moment. Certainly there is a beetle in this room and I must find it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right about that.
It's not like anyone was, like, focused on anything else. I mean, to be honest, this is one of those moments where Hermione is coming in with 100% of the emotional intelligence that none of the other characters possess to be like, all right, I need to be, like, swift and I need to resolve the situation. I need to do it without causing a scene because it's not the most important thing right now, but it is a thing that needs to be dealt with.
I mean, she literally holds it in her, like, pocket, in her purse or whatever until they're on the train home. But I also feel like she was the only one who had the foresight to be, like, thinking about nobody outside of this room can hear this information in this way right now.
Wow, so much stuff. Sirius Black and Snape's Dark Mark and, like, the fucking grandpa fight. Like, there's a lot. There's been a lot. Harry takes his potion and passes out once more. And for the second time in my life, I'm glad to see him go. Go to sleep. Sweet, sweet child.
Yeah, it's a lot for little buddy at this point. I mean, like, the saddest thing for me, because it's such a 14-year-old boy moment, is, like, he's clearly about to cry. And the one thing that he thinks is, I wish Ron wasn't here to see this.
Especially, like, with the old mom hug. It's just, like, I don't have to be strong here in your bosom.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just one of those things where I was like, really? We're going to deal with this right now?
Right.
Like, homie, you can cry.
Your friend should be able to see you cry, and you feel okay doing it.
You've trusted your friends to do so much shit with you to date. Like,
yeah. Like, you guys have almost died together, like, many times. Like, you can cry in front of Ron.
You can process your feelings together. Yeah.
I, like, wish he would. I think it would be good for him to just really, like, bawl. But, no, you can bawl later. Just go to sleep again.
That's a whole other conversation about how Harry never really learned how to process his feelings or trauma. But
well, Harry hasn't had a lot of role models in that regard.
He's been forced to repress them. It's a wonder he didn't turn into an Obscurious.
Fucking, I'm sure Ginny teaches him eventually, because that's what women be doing. They be therapists.
Certainly no amount of, I don't know what wizard therapy entails, but certainly no amount of therapy, even magically assisted, can deal with what Harry Potter has gone through in his lifetime.
No one's equipped. Sam, is there anything in this chapter that we missed that you want to circle back to? Any, like, favorite moments or themes you want to drive home?
I feel like we pretty much covered everything. Like I said before, I love this chapter, not because it's, like, super action-packed, but because it's just a lot of dialogue, heavy lifting, and I think it's some of the best writing that we see from J.K. Rowling in a while, and like you all said before, it just kind of, like, elevates the tone, and we're just like, we live here now. This is where the book stays. But I think it kind of was elevated anyways when Cedric died, but it's like, now the political tension is here.
We're not going back, we're just doing this. There's no relief.
Yeah, I really like the sharp turn of the series at this moment.
Yeah, especially thinking about how fun the chapter titled The Third Task was. Just like, la-di-da, doing a task, winning a contest with my friends.
I'm a genius. I figured out the spider.
Amazed at his own brilliance, I think, is the direct quote.
Yeah.
So, Emily, do you have any final words about the chapter? Any favorite moments? Things you want to go back to?
I think we covered it all. Yeah, I mean, the fourth book is really where the tone kind of shifts. With the death of Cedric, it's not a kid's story any longer. And in this chapter, it's more political now, too. So there's, like, two different realms that we're learning are going to be different. And I think in this chapter, Harry has to grow up I mean, he has to grow up really fast anyway throughout his entire time at Hogwarts. But in this chapter, I think he has aged at least a couple years.
Yeah.
And he's also learning that you can't trust every adult that's in your life, which I think he already knew, but not to this extent. Because I think within the wizarding world, for the most part, I mean, he did trust a lot of, you know, professors and officials. And I don't think he was like a fan of Fudge. I think he thought he was a little bit weird, but I don't think he ever thought that he couldn't trust him. Especially with the way that he was met with compassion in the last book by Fudge. So, yeah, I like this chapter because it does show a different side of the professors and kind of starts the war, basically. Yeah, this is the beginning of the war. And also has a bit of foreshadowing with how difficult the next book jumping in will be, not only emotionally, but with kind of the perception of the wizarding world and what they have of Harry on their mind.
I also feel like this is like Harry's nightmare being realized, like his nightmare is coming to life. I think he says even in Flesh, Blood, and Bone or the Death Eaters, one of the chapters before this, that, you know, he had seen Voldemort's face like in his nightmares for the past 3 years, and now Voldemort is standing in front of him. It's like, oh shit, it's getting real. And in this chapter, he's like, not only is it getting real, but the people in charge aren't listening. So this is like a double nightmare. So it's just like the end of this chapter. I think you, as a reader, and the end of this book, you're just like, well, okay, so how do we resolve this from here? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the other books end with, like, what you guys said. Like, we get the Dumbledore resolution moment, we get the hospital wing, and then we get the hope and uplifting music at the end.
And like going back to the Dursleys for 2 months until I go to the Weasleys and go back to Hogwarts. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's just like, well, my worst nightmare has come, and
whatever's coming comes.
And it was not received in the way in which I think Harry really thought, like, if Voldemort ever does come back, people are going to believe me. Like, I've now done heroic things for multiple years, and, like, I really think I have a good, like, reputation with these people, and that's just, like, unfortunately not what he's met with.
Well, and that's just, like, one of the worst feelings in the world, I think, is thinking you're going to get support from a certain place and then realizing that you're not getting that support, whether it be, like, your friend not having your back or, like, teachers or a boss.
And being reminded that, like, he's a kid.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, Fudge does choose his words kind of carefully there, and, like, it's very pointed. Like, he's a 14-year-old kid. Like, don't believe him. And I think at this point he's like, okay, well, you believed me of all these other things.
Right.
And now I'm not credible.
Well, especially when it's something that is this serious, and it's like, how can you not see the truth here?
Right.
Like, how do you not believe me?
Well, and there's just a lot of evidence.
Right. I mean, and again, I go back to, I feel like I'm a broken record, and this is why sometimes we just say these things once, but it's like, I feel like it's a political commentary of, like,
for sure,
how people can just believe the things they do, and you're like, but I don't get it. How? Like,
yeah, but what about evidence?
You don't see the evidence?
No, the end of this book is depressing. No, for sure. I mean, I don't know how I'm gonna make the next chapter at the end of the book feel good to our listeners, but damn it, I'm gonna fucking try. So just everybody,
that's not your cross to bear. You're just
it's part of the series.
Yeah,
we'll see how many dick jokes we can incorporate. That always lightens the mood if he throws some dick jokes. That's the very first thing we did after Voldemort came back, is we were like, let's get some dick jokes in there. Do you think he's hung? He's standing there naked. What does his dick look like?
No, I don't think so. I think he probably has a tiny penis.
a little tiny garden snake.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason his actions are the way that they are. So.
Well, are you all ready to move on to plugs?
Yeah.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, can one or both of you remind us what your podcast is and where we can find it?
Yeah, so our podcast is Harry Potter and the HalfDrunk Podcast, and you can find us on social media at HPHalfDrunk or hphalfdrunk.com, and we are on Instagram and Twitter.
Hell yeah.
And you can listen to us any way that you listen to a podcast. You can just Google us and click on a link and you will find us.
So, Sam, do you want people to find your personals on the internet or just the podcast?
They can find my personal. My Instagram is at samhangloose. Loose, Luse is my last name. I don't tweet, so you can't find me there.
Okay, perfect. And what's something you've been watching, playing, listening to, reading lately that you think the listeners of our podcast would enjoy?
So I am in a book club and I read a bunch of different books every year, every month. So recently I just finished reading A River Enchanted. It's a fantasy book, and I think the way that it ended, there's gonna be a series, and it was pretty good. But I also read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which...
Yeah.
Have you read that?
Yeah.
Yeah, loved it. Went a completely different way than I was expecting, but I loved it. And then...
Same.
I also just read Where the Crawdads Sing, because they're making a movie out of it. And recently a friend told me that maybe the author is a little controversial or like a little canceled, and I didn't know that. But the book was really good, and since we have practiced separating author from book before, I still like the book, so I would recommend it.
Well, cool. I'm glad you liked it. Emily, what about you? Do you want people to find you on the internet or just the pod?
Sure. My handle on Instagram is Emily_Bade, BHADE. It is private, so you'll have to request me. And then it's up to me to whether I approve that or not. But I usually do. And then I recently finished Song of Achilles. And if you have not read that book, please do yourself a service and go get that book. I could not put it down. It is beautifully written. And also, if you have not read Pachinko, it's a really good book. And now there's a series on Apple Plus or Apple TV. And it's all about Japan and their occupation of Korea, which I did not really know much about until I read the book. So, historical and entertaining.
Is that by Min Jin Lee?
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks so much for the recommendation. Brooke, what about you? Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram at Passion4Parks. You can find me on Twitter at GrumpyBrooke. I'm going to go real basic here and just be like, if you haven't yet watched Bridgerton.
I thought you were going to say Twilight Eclipse.
No, if you haven't watched Bridgerton, clear your schedule, make yourself a hot cup of cocoa, do it in the bath, get yourself a bath bomb from Lush, binge the whole thing. That's my official recommendation.
Hell yeah. Have you seen the second season?
Yeah, yeah.
And we still recommend it just as much?
Yeah, it's a completely different style to the first season. It's a slow burn.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah, so good though. It's worth it.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Well, I've been your host, Christina. You know where to find me. I would love to plug our Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can become a patron of the restricted section. You'll be able to join our online Discord community, which is a very fun place to be with lots of friends just waiting to be your friend. Okay, perfect. Crushed it. We also do bonus episodes for our $5 a month and up tiers. And for our May bonus episode, we're doing a what if episode where we ask ourselves, what if major plot points in the series had gone differently? I think that's already a thing. I've heard that that's a thing, or maybe that's like a Marvel thing and not a Harry Potter thing, but we're fucking doing it. So get on over there. I would also love to plug, I don't think I've plugged yet, Our Flag Means Death on HBO Max. It's the gay pirate show. It's incredibly good.
I have not heard of this.
What, really? It's Taika Waititi and that other guy whose name I can't remember because I always think he's the other guy.
It's Rise, not Davies.
Not Davies. Darby. Derby or Darby?
I think it's Darby.
Okay, great. It's just like incredibly funny and sharp and smart and like irreverent and sexy. I love it.
Great.
Oh, also, this is very important. Y'all know that 2022 is the age of Cage, and I've been watching every single Nick Cage movie this year. You know what that means? That means, obviously, I've already seen his brand new movie, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and that was incredibly funny, featuring a very endearing Pedro Pascal. So I recommend that one as well. So you got some homework to do. You got some books to read. You got some movies to watch. You got stuff to do. Sam and Emily, thank you so much for joining us today. We so appreciate your helping us wrap up this like most sad of chapters, truly.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
And hopefully next week we'll be okay.
Yeah, we'll have to recover.
I believe in us.
But you know that after we finish the series, we'll do a wrap-up episode, we'll do a film comparison episode, and then we'll dive right into some bonus content for the summer. So there's a lot of fun stuff to do. Maybe we're going to release our My Immortal bonus episode on the main feed, my favorite episode we've ever done.
Yeah, that's a dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we barely got into that one. We were like, not for us.
We got into it too far. No, I got into it far enough for all of us. Like, don't worry. All right, gang, I gotta go finish reading 1,000 Ways to Spend 1,000 Galleons before this book sucks my soul out. Bye.
Bye.
The Restricted section is stoked to be a member of the Movie Night Crew podcast network, featuring some excellent other podcasts such as Fandom's Gone Wrong, a podcast where Carrie and Charlie, a mother and kid duo, talk about movies, TV shows, and books they both love, and it will probably devolve into friendly arguments.
Hello, you awesome nerds out there. Yes, you. Have I got the podcast for you?
We've got pop culture, swearing, and all the immature jokes you could ask for.
We'll take you on a journey through TV shows, movies, books, and maybe a video game someday.
And we'll tell you how they all went wrong.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Carrie.
And this is Fandom's Gone Wrong.
New episodes every other Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts.
The Restricted section was created by me, Christina Kahn, based on the book series by J.K. Rowling. All music by Ryan Kahn. Logo by Michael Hardison. Support us on patreon.com/restricted section. For as little as $1 a month, you can gain access to our Discord community server, which is a really happy place to be. And there are other rewards as well, such as bonus episodes and Zoom happy hour hangouts. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Restricted Section Pod, on Twitter at Restricted Pod, and on Facebook at Restricted Section Pod. Also, feel free to shoot us an email at restrictedsectionpod@gmail.com to share your thoughts, feelings, complaints, conspiracy theories, or even lavish praise. And we are an explicit podcast, so feel free to swear if that's your thing, but no pressure.
Yeah, I'm glad because, like, we don't have filters.
Perfect.
That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.